Hunter x Hunter is finally back, and folks, I have got a lot to say this week. Holy shit. Oh my god, what a week it's been. I pulled 2 all-nighters because I was so excited about this manga's return, but let's just finally get into it. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. Let's begin. So, the first thing I want to call attention to with this whole thing is this frightening and haunting color spread of Terror Sandwich holding what appears to be Pyro's head. I mean, if there was any doubt before that the head above his throne was Pyro's, this should dispel it. And also just the little mention of Pyro right before this whole arc started, you know, it's very foreboding in retrospect. And something I want to bring attention to is that the last batch of chapters did in fact start with a nice little color spread of Morena, similarly, you know, ominous and looming and threatening. That batch of chapters did in fact involve, I mean, at the very end of it, there were like, oh, I want to say 3.5 chapters devoted solely to studying Morena's character. And I think it really fleshed her out in a lot of interesting ways. So just based on the fact that Morena got the last color spread, and Terror Sandwich got this one, maybe we're in for Terror Sandwich time this batch, you know, or in the next 10 chapters or whatever. Because, you know, this batch of chapters, it might be more than 10. It's really looking like it. I mean, let's get into the actual chapter itself. So, starting right off, Day 12, Thursday, 8 o'clock, inside the Ministry of Justice. Why is this important? Because this is the same day that martial law goes down. Because, later that day, we have Haukenberg's funeral procession around 2 p.m., and then Morena and Volkson's card game, presumably around like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I don't know exactly, but basically sometime after that, martial law goes down. So the fact that martial law happens later that very same day is, you know, it's going to give us a lot of insight about this. And then I also do want to say, before we really get into the meat of this chapter, Togashi, I appreciate you. I see what you're doing. This chapter, I feel, could have easily been chapter 410, and chapter 410 could have easily been this chapter. But by giving us chapter 410 being the one where martial law happens, before the flashback to everything that happened, I think that was a great move because he effectively gave us a few years to like theorize and shit. Not a few years. Oh my god, it hasn't even been that long. Oh my god, that feels so surreal to say. Jesus Christ. But yeah, he gave us a lot of time to theorize about what led to martial law, and then more importantly, on a reread, this is going to create what I believe there's a fancy name for it, but I actually can't remember it, so I'm just gonna call it the Hitchcock bomb effect. Effectively, I think it was Alfred Hitchcock who said, if you set off a bomb in a movie, your audience, you know, they see the bomb go off. They get a few seconds of like, holy shit, oh my god, of terror and suspense. But if you show a bomb being planted with half an hour on the timer, then for the next half an hour, as that bomb ticks down, the audience feels the suspense. They feel really hooked in. And I think that's what's going to happen in this next batch of chapters as we see the events that led to martial law. We're waiting for the pin to drop, and the whole time we're going to be like, okay, what's going to happen that pulls the trigger? But yeah, and then also we don't know the circumstances of martial law, and we don't know what's actually going on. It's going to be very tempting to look at a lot of these events and say, this doesn't matter. Martial law is about to happen. Why do we care about this? But we can't, because we don't know what's going on, and what's happening up until martial law can and probably will to some degree, you know, affect the whole, how do I put this? It's going to affect the entire situation and circumstances surrounding it. So they're talking about Haukenberg's funeral. And it's very interesting. They point out that they had to make a big old public funeral out of Haukenberg's death to avoid upsetting the public. It just goes to show that the rabble-rousers, they do care about Haukenberg. He was like their one hope for positive change in the Kakin Empire. And he's dead, so they have a lot of angry commoners to placate now. And that's why, like, you know, the other princes who have died so far, they don't get big ceremonial funerals because, I mean, nobody gives a shit about them, really. Like, do you think Momose had a bunch of fans out there who were like, if Momose dies, I'm gonna burn this fucking country to the ground? Yeah, I don't think so. So yeah, we get, once again, a panel of Balsamico with Haukenberg behind him. Haukenberg's face shrouded in shadow. Really not beating the descent into villainy allegations here, buddy. And then, of course, we get a little jump to Kaiser and Co. chit-chatting about Fugetsu's condition. She's an eepy girl because, she needs her rest, and she's out of energy, and the reminder, they're going to kill Loserus tonight, or they're going to try to. We don't know if they succeed. I think they do, but, that's a whole other thing. So she needs her energy, and Kachabeast is worried that she is making Fug use extra energy, which, that would kind of make sense. However, I don't think that's how it works. Because, she's charged up with post-mortem Nen. So if there is a cost to Fugetsu's aura, it's probably very small. Most of her is probably sustained by that post-mortem Nen. And by the time that sort of Nen reserve runs out, I would have to imagine that, Fugetsu will either be dead or a more accomplished Nen user on her own. So yeah, I think Kachabeast's worries are not really founded here, and Melody tries to calm her down. Is like, well, you shouldn't worry about that right now. And I think this shows that Melody is, and I think a few other things have shown this in previous chapters. Maybe I'll talk about that some other time. Yeah, Melody is an accomplished hunter, but her Nen expertise is not on the level of people like Kurapika, because you absolutely must not worry about that. Like that's not what you say when you can actually reassure someone. That's what you say when you're like, well, it's not important right now. But if she actually fully knew her stuff when it comes to Nen, I think she could speculate about and, provide some more concrete comfort to Kachabeast here. However, this might also just be a difference in Melody's personality. You know me, I like to read into all this shit. Anyway, so Kaiser's talking about the funeral, yada yada, and then we cut to room 302. That's a bit weird, because you might think, now wait a second. The rooms that start with 3 are on tier 3, right? But no, this is apparently on tier 1 somewhere, and I think that's very interesting, because so far, like, all the Prince's rooms start with 10, and they're 4 digits, and I believe the same is true of tiers 2 and 3. So the fact that it's 302, I mean, that implies to me maybe there's some sort of secret area off limits to most people, because the person that we're going to see in here is, of course, Sarahel, the guard of Second Prince Camilla. I might be misremembering, but maybe Queen Unma was in a 3-digit room as well. So if that was true, I'll put it up on the screen right now. If it's not true, I don't know. I'll put something silly like another Kaluto orb or something like I like to do. Okay, so we see Sarahel here, and she's looking cranky. And then she does a makeover, and she looks chill. I mean, this is like the standout page of this chapter, I think. It's quite interesting. I think it shows that, once again, a really minor guard that I honestly expected to run in, be a plot device, and die is, actually a fully fleshed out character in Togashi's brain, and probably will be within the story as well. I mean, this is interesting stuff here. And you know what it reminds me of, honestly? It reminds me of Palm, from the Chimera Ant arc, because, she was a spooky swamp creature, but then she, got a makeover and was suddenly like a really conventionally attractive woman, and they even kind of look alike. So I feel like Togashi's exploring some of the same stuff here. I don't know what to think yet, and we get some continued discussion on the next page between Sarahel and Fukutaki, where Fukutaki's like, oh, you've disguised yourself so well. And Sarahel's like, no, this is the real me. The soldier is the disguise. And, it feels like a more explicit exploration of what Togashi was talking about with Palm. Because the question back then was, who is Palm? Is she the spooky swamp creature that's always threatening murder? Or is she really the kind and sweet lady who's only forced herself to put on this murderous front because, Nove has been grooming her into a monstrously dangerous hunter? And the answer is both. She's both. Obviously, Palm wasn't thinking about it, and the narrative wasn't as directly concerned about it. It was more in the background. But I do think it's interesting that Togashi's revisiting that idea, and that Sarahel herself is explicitly discussing which one is the real her. So I think this is going to lead somewhere interesting, hopefully, probably. And also, I want to point out, Sarahel, or when she was in the page where all the have-nots were talking about cursing Wool to death, she was in her spooky soldier persona. So if she claims that this chill one is the real her, I don't know. That makes me feel like maybe she's not so devoted to killing herself to kill Wobble as she's pretending. Um, so I really do have to wonder about that. So just looking at this page of her again, making herself up in the mirror, I do think it's very interesting that like at first she's cleaning herself off, and the cleaning herself off makes her look no longer angry, you know? Um, it's she looks really blank, like a blank slate, and that to me suggests, or it's really indicative of how the have-nots have basically been focusing their rage and hate into a super powerful Nen curse on their targets. They've been simmering in their hate, but it's all a front. They don't. I mean, how can she actually hate a baby that she's never met? She's just forcing herself to. So it's not as though she walks in, angry soldier, just plops on all the makeup. No, she has to clean herself off first. And I just think that's a very interesting distinction, that she cleans herself off and removes her anger before she puts on her charming feminine persona. As established before, she's but Togashi's given us a little refresher, because for a lot of people, I mean, this was what, chapter 389? It was years ago, and most people aren't freaks like me who reread the manga constantly. So, yeah, she's going to Kurapika's second Nen class with a mission to kill Prince Wobble. And I also think it's interesting, they're basically proceeding under the assumption that Wobble has a Nen exorcist at her disposal, and that her not having a Nen exorcist is the best case scenario. And I think this goes to show, once again, that the Kakin Royal Army are not that good at Nen. They're kind of shit at it, frankly. Because Nen exorcists, as frequently stated throughout Hunter x Hunter, are extremely rare. Because Nen is already so rare, Nen curses are even rarer, so finding an exorcist is almost impossible. But all of the have-nots, like, they're experts in curses. That's their whole thing. So their view of Nen is very limited to that, they're really just so focused on the Nen curses, because that's all they know. That's the only way they really that's what they most understand about Nen. That's what they think is most powerful. Ow, my fucking knee. I just need my desk. Anyway, so I do think that's very interesting, and it goes to show that Benjamin's men are already, like, they're supposed to be the best of the Kakin army, and they're already, like, behind the Hunter Association in Nen knowledge, and even they are better than Camilla's army. So it really goes to show that what we take for granted as, like, the basics of Nen knowledge and the most concrete understanding of it is something that the vast majority of Nen users do not possess, because the understanding of Nen that we, the readers, were given comes from a lot more experience than most of these people have, and we were taught about Nen by, extremely skilled hunters. People who were cream of the crop, the most elite of Nen users. That's where we learned Nen from. So we know more about Nen than, I would say, the vast majority of Nen users in the Hunter x Hunter world. And it's panels like this and pages like this that really make that apparent. So back to room 1014, the second Nen class. Furikawa is looking really fucking done with Bobby Mina taking too long to do anything. We got some new faces. We got some old. Kurapika explains that, the Nen class is being divided now into the people who have already had the first class. He's going to teach them about the basic principles of Nen, and then new participants, which are going to have 2 participants. So the number of people in the Nen class has massively increased, and I think this is interesting and also a smart choice, because once Kurapika teaches a class of Nen students about the basic principles, they can teach the rest of their people. However, the other Nen class students, they can't go from 0 to having their aura awakened the way Kurapika's first Nen class did without Kurapika. So effectively, this is the most time-efficient way to teach as many people as possible the fundamentals of Nen. So then we go over to, the actual people attending. And, this poor new guy, I forget his name right now, or actually I think it's a woman, because they're wearing a maid uniform, and most of the maids seem to be women. So yeah, I'm gonna assume it's a woman until further notice. Anyway, she's Berrigan's replacement, which means she's kind of like, she's taking the place of a guy who just died, and he was a soldier. She's just a maid, so she's got to be terrified. And also, she probably knows more or less about the whole pocket dimension because she's one of Miriam's servants. And she's basically been forced out of the safe zone and back into the fray, and that sucks. That sucks for her. I'm so sorry. That's so rough. And and we'll see later, like she's just having a meltdown. I do feel really bad for her, but also just economically from Miriam's point of view, and I guess his mother Savanti's, this makes sense. Like, seemingly the only threats that can actually get to your kid are going to be the traitorous guards belonging to other queens and princes that are in the pocket dimension there, like that as of yet unnamed guards, and no one else can really get in as far as you know. So it's going to make sense that they would not want to surrender any manpower, so to speak. All the danger to Miriam is already in the room. They're sacrificing the person they can most afford to sacrifice, and that's probably why this poor girl is scared so shitless. Oh, that's so tough. And we got some of Fugetsu's maids. They were here for the first one, and they had their aura awakened. They're just talking about like, oh my god, having Nen feels great, and then, that's cool. And then we've got Kacho's crew. We've got a new servant, and we've got Yuri, who was the first person to get her Nen awakened last time. And yeah, this new one, her name is Rockily. Come on, we've got Broccoli, and then we have Rockily. Maybe the official translation will make it different. I kind of hope so, because what the fuck is this? But yeah, she's like, wait, is Kacho already dead? And Yuri's like, shut the fuck up. Just do your job. Because, if they get caught gossiping, there could be consequences. And then we've got Satobi, who was around the first time, and also I want to remind you, Satobi was one of the people that seemed kind of suspicious about, and could have been silent majority, but Furikov ruled out. And then also he was very hostile towards Kurapika. And these fucking guys. A few chapters ago, Belarante criticized the royal soldiers and was like, you guys are just here to advance your careers. That's what the succession war is really about for you guys. And holy shit. Yeah. They're a bunch of traitorous fucking bastards. They're all just really focused on advancing their own careers. And I mean, I know this is par for the course human selfishness, but oh my god, these fucking guys are pissing me off. Like, there's a murderer on the loose. Everything is about to explode. You guys have no idea how bad shit's gonna get, and you're still just worried about this, about advancing your own careers. And I mean, I guess for most selfish people, like, I've worked in a fairly corporate environment. I know what this shit's like. I mean, when shit hits the fan, everybody locks in. But for some people, locking in means, making sure everything runs smoothly, making sure that the team is doing the best they can, making sure things are best for everybody. But for most people, it really just means that they're pursuing their own goals. It's time to lock in and make sure that they avoid any blame when things go wrong, and they get praise when things go right. Like, this chapter is rage bait for me, because these guys remind me of all my least favorite coworkers. Oh my fucking god. I want to strangle these guys. And it's really going to bite them in the ass. And this is just a terrible idea. Like, you guys are already fighting every other prince and all sorts of enemies from the lower tiers you don't even know about yet. And you're still not even working together. You're still making room to fight each other. And they're trying to get swapped from Loserus to Camilla, and it's just like, oh my god, these people sicken me, and I hate them. Yeah. And then meanwhile, we've got Sarah Hell thinking, ooh, I could kill Prince Wobo within 5 days, and like, awesome suicidal Sarah Hell, evil and intimidating martial law. You guys see the vision. Like, martial law is happening later today. And then Tenfutori, who's been kind of a non-character now, is he's being a dick. Basically, doing whatever it takes to advance his own career. Fuck this guy. I mean, there's not a lot to say about it until this internal politicking goes somewhere. But yeah, meanwhile, Tebepa and Zhonglei's guards are both like, we gotta get Kurapika in our rooms. Like, they need him. And Kurapika's like, these fucking guys. I relate, Kurapika. Anyway, so then we get to the 10th and 11th prince's maids. And yeah, obviously they're working together because, you know, Kacho Fug, same mother, they're twins, they're in sync, yada yada. I like this girl, Toneasta. She's like, if we can really gain superhuman powers, I'll be able to fight. And it's like, honestly, girl, I like where your head's at because, I mean, to be real, she's probably not gonna be able to go toe to toe with veteran Nen users right off the bat. But the majority of people on this boat do not use Nen, and like one maid who can use Nen, I mean, she's gonna be almost bulletproof. That's a huge advantage. If she comes up with the right Hatsu, she could still beat veteran Nen users in the right matchups, you know, if she gets lucky. So I like where her head's at. She knows what's up. Yeah, and then we've got, you know, Gato and Satobi. These selfish dickwads are just planning to advance their careers, like I already said. And fucking Gato, dude, he's gonna fuck it up for everybody. He hasn't been here. He doesn't know how powerful Nen is. He's like not even thinking about Nen. He's just like, I'm gonna kill that fucking baby. This guy's gonna mess it up for everybody. I'm calling it. Like that's fucked. And also just it's so sickening, and it just goes to show how evil these people are. He's like, the target is a baby? I could get it done in seconds. That's horrible. Like that's all he thinks about. Oh, the person I'm supposed to kill is a baby. That's all he thinks about. It doesn't even register to him that this is another human being whose life he's going to end. I mean, kind of goes without saying, and it's very par for the course, but God, it fucking sickens me, and I hate all of these coworkers, and I hope they all... I called them coworkers. Oh my God, Freudian slip. I hate all of these guards, and I hope they die. And meanwhile, Kurapika is just thinking, man, I hope Silent Majority slimes out another one of the Fourth Prince's guards so he fucking sues me. Not what I expected. he's really like, I hope Terra Sandwich fucking takes me to court. That really tickled me for some reason. I think that's funny. But yeah, and then Kurapika reflects on the fact that Halkenberg is dead, and that's very bad because even though we the reader know that Halkenberg is not dead, the fact that everyone else thinks he's dead is of huge symbolic importance. He was a stabilizing force. And as covered in the start of the chapter, all of his soldiers have been relegated to the lower tiers. So even though nominally they were on Kurapika's side to, you know, like stop the bloodshed, they can't help him with that anymore. So that's really bad. They were a huge peacekeeping influence. And yeah. Also, Kurapika is straight up thinking about starting a fucking proletariat revolution here. He says, by using the truth behind the prince's death as a spark, we must also keep the option of inciting the public and taking advantage of the chaos on the table. That's insane. Like, okay, Kurapika. He really just said, let's fucking start a riot. And I mean, based, but how are you gonna do that, buddy? And I do think it's hilarious that that's where his head is at. And it also shows just how widespread Prince Halkenberg's support was, and you know, good world building. And now, from Terror Sandwich's division, we have Gipper. Holy shit! This dude was he was the corporal of Volkson's regiment before. So he swapped with Volkson. That's crazy. And Danjin, of course, is just thinking about himself, and he's like, well, I was supposed to bring Terra Sandwich a souvenir, but that got brushed under the rug, and Muhan is dead, so if you also die, I mean, my career is fucked. I'm in trouble. So, dude, I hate these people so much. And then this fucker, Slaka, who is one of the only people of Zhanglei's division before that, you know, got any characterization. Like, he was always an unlikable dickwad, but now he just decides to fuck up everything for everybody. And he's just like, yeah, I want Nen. And on one hand, I mean, sure, it makes sense, but everyone else is just thinking about how he's using it to advance his own career. He's also using it to get under the skin of the 4th and 5th Prince's guards. And he's pissing off this dude Hashito. I think his name is Hashito. It's either Sakata or Hachito. I always get those two confused. Honestly, the fact that I remember these guys' names at all is kind of a miracle. But yeah, he's pissed. He's like, you are being a little shit starter, and you're ruining our alliances here. What the fuck is your problem, man? But of course, Slaka is doing it on purpose. And I mean, this motherfucker. It's a little hard for me to understand, but what I think is happening here is he's basically saying, or at least Hashito or Sakata or whoever, what he thinks is happening is that Slaka was trying to secretly negotiate with Kurapika and say, hey, so you promised everybody who attended this Nen class information that could advance the succession war. Give it to me, please, me personally. And Kurapika was probably like, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so Slack is now going out of his way to ruin things on purpose just because he's pissed that he didn't get these special privileges. And that, once again, he's really reminding me of one of my old workplaces. Oh my god. Oh my god. I hate this guy. And honestly, I feel like a lot of these guys are gonna die. Like, Togashi's really going out of his way to not only show what selfish, unlikable pieces of shit they are, but also that they can't even work together. And this whole arc is really about people getting fucked over because they don't work together when they need to. Honestly, a lot of Hunter x Hunter is about that. Except Greed Island, which was kind of the opposite. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but he's really showing how precarious this is, how when shit hits the fan, and it's about to hit the fan, because martial law is like a matter of hours away, these people are all going to be out for themselves, and the end result is going to be hugely problematic. And it's probably going to get a lot of them killed. And oh, I will be celebrating because I fucking hate these guys. So Kurapika's like, I'm going to announce this information about the succession war. And everybody's like, oh, wait a minute, what do you mean? Because they assumed Kurapika was going to volunteer this information in exchange for some kind of detail that would, help the princes win, but giving that away to everybody would be worthless. And Kurapika's like, oh, I'm sorry. It was a misunderstanding of my words. And like, bullshit. Kurapika's smarter than that. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was luring them all here. He basically explains the whole the rules of the succession war, yada yada, and how it's all a Nen ability. And he uses the succession war to explain conditions, which, I think is very smart and interesting, because I think he can tell that most of these guys are more concerned about the succession war than they are going to be concerned about learning Nen. And I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but it's going to make it difficult to teach these fuckers Nen if their head's not in the game. So he uses this to get their head in the game. Once again, very good example of Kurapika being a master manipulator. Then he goes on this spiel of what I can only describe as questionable. It is questionable. Because I have to wonder how much of this is true. Because first of all, we have reason to believe he's lying. And I believe chapter 402, 403, 404, somewhere around there. I'll put it up on screen. He basically asks Oito, hey, can I do some crazy shit that's gonna help everybody in the succession war? And this is presumably the crazy shit. And he basically describes the succession war, but he goes out on a limb here, and either he's got some exclusive information that we, the readers, don't yet know about, or he's theorizing, or, what I think is more likely, he is half theorizing, half just making shit up to manipulate these people for some ulterior purpose. And he's basically talking about how just the way Nen and risks work, the succession war is on this strict 2-month deadline of the voyage to the New World, and if it does not have a king, the whole Kakin royal family is going to fall from grace. Like, they're risking everything with every succession war to keep the Kakin royal family on the throne. And so he's basically saying, like, if there's more than 2 princes surviving at the end of the succession war, the whole thing is fucked. All of you are fucked. Your careers are fucked. The royal family is fucked. So I don't think that's true. And second of all, if he did in fact think this was true, I don't think he would just tell them like this. because it's like Furikov says later in the chapter. It's basically saying, "Hey, hurry up and kill all the lower princes, or everyone's fucked." And I just don't think that's true. Another reason I don't think it's true is because at the start of the Succession War, Nasabi says, when Camilla is like, "Hey, so what qualifies? Can we make it just biological death?" Nasabi says, "The sole survivor of this voyage will be king." How you interpret that is part of the game. If it really did mean all the other princes except one have to fucking die, there would be no need to interpret anything. There is a way for multiple princes to survive and one of them to also then become king. That's what I believe. How you interpret that, my opinion is that all the princes who are still alive have to agree on who should become king. That is what I think sole survivor means. Because, like I said, again, there would be no reason to interpret anything if it weren't like that. So this is just flat out wrong. Not all the princes have to die. And then Kurapika goes into this whole Japanese pun thing, Matsurigoto, about how, like, I guess the kanji and the different readings of them relate to the Succession War, thematic stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I'm sure this is really cool if you're more literate in Japanese than I am, but to me as an English reader, it doesn't tell us a lot that we don't already know. Like, the Succession War is directly tied into how Kakin works. And I mean, I guess the implication is like, if you can't win the Succession War, then you're not worthy to be king. And if nobody can win the Succession War, then nobody is worthy to be king. And by the rules of Nen, the dynasty will fall. And I mean, it's sure, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about that much. Kurapika uses this to explain Nen limitations. Yeah, and Kurapika basically says, and this sort of ties into a bunch of shit I've said on this channel, if the next king is not decided by the Succession War, they will not have all this Nen power that the Kakin Empire has used to rule for centuries. And if they do not have that power, they will not be able to hold on to the country. I mean, I guess. I don't know. This is all not clicking to me yet. Like, why would Kurapika be saying any of this shit? Because he knows, obviously, if this was a different audience that he was speaking to, he would be able to say, like, hey, and if all this was true, he would be able to say, hey, if we do this, we can disrupt the Succession War. The whole thing will be null and void if we can just keep multiple people alive. And, you know, that would be good. But these guys are all focused on their careers. And Kurapika knows that. He's observed their behavior. He knows exactly where their priorities are. So telling them this is just going to make them more determined and desperate to kill. So yeah, it's not clicking to me yet. And then his final announcement is that 14th Prince Wobble does not meet the conditions to be a participant in the Succession War. What the fuck? So first of all, God, so I get why he would say this. Because obviously if he can convince everybody else that Wobble shouldn't be targeted, then there's no reason to target Wobble. So obviously it's, you know, it's some kind of psyop. As for whether or not it's true, I really have to doubt it, because I'm thinking about how on earth this could possibly be true. I think the Occam's razor explanation is that it's not true. This is a load of shit. This is some kind of massive psyop. He's mixing truth with lies to get them on board and convince them to target each other instead of Wobble. I don't know. What the fuck? And just thinking about like ways this could be true. Is Oito not a legal wife? No, she's a legal wife. She has to be. Is Wobble not really her child? I mean, surely she would have told Kurapika, and surely she would know. Like, she would know this loophole, and she would be able to exploit it in order to, you know, get Wobble out of this death game. The only thing I can think of is that Wobble isn't really Wobble. Like, her baby was switched at birth, with another baby. And this is a conspiracy theory, and it kind of only is something I'm thinking about because there's only two babies we know about this. There's only two babies we know about in this arc, and that's Wobble and Benjamin's illegitimate chud. So like, what if for some unknown reason, Benjamin's chud that's in Unma's care presumably is actually the real Wobble, and Oito is caring for Benjamin's chud? I mean, I guess I guess it could be a scheme by Benjamin to keep his chud safe. But that's all I can think of. I cannot think of any other reason for this to be the case, and even that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That actually, I'd go so far as to say it makes no sense. So this is a load of shit. Anyway, I think it's clear we're not supposed to get it because so far most of what Kurapika said, while it benefits Wobble, incentivizes all the other princes to start murdering each other as quick as possible. And Kurapika does not want that. He wants to chill this whole conflict out. He wants to stop the succession war. So what the fuck gives, man? The chapter ends halfway through his announcement. So we're still waiting for that other pin to drop, I think. I think he's going to finish this announcement maybe next chapter. Maybe it could be like, maybe the camera's going to move elsewhere and we're not going to know for a long time. Who knows with Togashi? But there's something left unsaid that is going to make this all click into place somehow. Because so far, it doesn't fucking make sense to me. But yeah, holy shit, Hunter x Hunter's back. I'm so happy. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you keep tuning in to my chapter reviews. Fuck, this one ended up being way longer than I expected. I don't know how long the actual video is going to be, but I've been talking for almost an hour now, just like as I'm recording, and the chapter reviews are meant to be like 10 minutes. So, oopsie doopsie, this is what happens when I do it without a script. I think I'm going to do it more because I think I said a lot of better stuff without, writing my thoughts down. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next week. Holy fucking shit, I'm gonna see you guys next week for another Hunter x Hunter chapter. Oh, we're so back. Oh, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Oh.